After 11 months, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals found that his right to a speedy trial had been violated by the Justice Department back in the early 70s. They didn't prosecute him promptly enough once the Army had released him. And 2-1 decision, they overturned they overturned the indictment. They didn't even deal with the trial. They said that he should never have been tried in the first place because this violated his right to a speedy trial. Eventually, the government, the Justice Department, appealed that to the Supreme Court, which, in a 6-3 decision, reversed the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals panel. It had been you want. Before you go to the Supreme Court, you can go for what's called an en banc reviewing before the full circuit, and to grant that, there has to be a majority of judges in the circuit who want to, we cannot overturn the panel and have a rehearing for the full group. And there, I think the vote was 5-5 on whether or not to rehear it. So the speedy trial question was always very close as a matter of law. Until it got to the Supreme Court, where it was 6-3. So he was free for 18 months, after his conviction. This is all the while that I'm writing in book, and this is one of the in a whole period of time which was never very relaxed. This perhaps the strangest, because he's free. He's confined to the state of California because it's still in field, but he's out of jail. He's back, and
Imagine his patience, right? I mean, to go to a doctor.
well, see, people don't go to him because he's an emergency room doc, so he works in the emergency room. So you're wheeled in on a stretcher, right?
No.
And you're
Fantastic.
that's his thing. He doesn't have private patients. He just works a duty shift in an emergency room, and he takes whatever is brought in the ambulance. So they don't have a choice. He before his trial, he had done a lot of lecturing in the areas of child abuse. Very strange thing for a guy to get interested in, given his circumstances. It later came to seem to me more sinister than interesting. But there was a symptom, a manifestation of something very troubling. I mean, he would talk about show slides of battered children and things. He'd lectures, and this is a guy who, what he did to his own kids is just awful. Just awful. I mean, this whole thing was so bad to have to get involved in. I mean, it's not the lawsuit that would ever make me wish I hadn't done it, but it was the experience of writing this book was unlike anything else. I mean, you write about a presidential campaign, you write about Alaska, you write about anything. You write about the murder of little girls and this pregnant woman. Just to be exposed firsthand to the evidence, the crime scene photographs. It's just stuff I've never had to. I'm not a hardened homicide cop. I'm not Joe Wambaugh. This was very upsetting to me, and that was part of the big problem. I couldn't reconcile this guy who I had become so well acquainted with, at least superficially, with a person capable of having done this to his own wife and children. So there's this enormous tension between what the physical evidence presented at trial suggests so strongly, and my own emotional reaction, which was that he couldn't have done this. Yeah. He couldn't have done that. You'd have to be just crazy. I mean, God, he couldn't do that. Then he calls, and then he's free. He calls me on the phone. Hey, how you doing? Come on out. I'm writing about him. I'm trying to do this to maintain this dichotomy that you have to between your personal relationship with someone about whom, and their subject. As you enter into somebody's life who you really have no right to be, and start to live it with them, it gets much more intimate in a way than sitting here with a tape recorder. But even this over a period of many hours and weeks and months, I'm sure you find there's two people.
Yeah.
There has to be a personal component in anything like this. Here, you have a subject with MacDonald who's consciously trying to play on that to win my sympathy, to get me to believe him and portray him the way he wants to be portrayed. And I'm wrestling internally with these horribly difficult questions of, well, he must have, but yet how could he? Just and all the while, just engulfed in the horror of what it is he did, or someone did. What happens to those people? And when he's out of prison for 18 months there, even though I only saw him, I think, on 2 occasions during those 18 months, I'm writing the book, and he is, of course, very curious about the book, but keeps repeating to me in letters, which have become documents now at trial. Of course, I understand you have the freedom to write the book any way you want. I've never tried to infringe upon that. I recognize that it's your book, and you have artistic control, and all these different things, which what he said in the releases. All the while, he's convinced himself that what I'm going to do is going to be a wonderful thing for him, that he's going to be portrayed as an innocent victim. And all the while, I'm getting deeper and deeper into this forest of his thickets of his mind, and I come to recognize that what I'm dealing with is not the person who had appeared on the surface to be this kind of person, but something very, very different, something I'd never really been confronted with before. And you can start to get clinical and give it definitions, call him a sociopath, call him a pathological narcissist, call him, depending on whatever school you're most comfortable in, the nomenclature would vary, but you're talking about somebody here who isn't well, where's the thing for Ruby Quickly? I mean, I'll just the best description. The Quickly book is still Hazi's, he's still in Corstein's office, but okay, Klepli in The Mask of Sanity says, in all the orthodox psychoses, there's a more or less obvious alteration of reasoning process, some other demonstrable personality feature. In the psychopath, this is not seen. The observer is confronted with a convincing mask of sanity. All the outward features of this mask are intact. It cannot be displaced or penetrated. Examination reveals not merely an ordinary two-dimensional mask, but what seems to be a solid and substantial structural image of the sane and rational personality.